Do you remember the first time you really understood that the world you lived in was not safe? Sadly, for some, this education comes at far too early an age. Perhaps you were powerfully wounded as a young child by abuse, poverty, or hatred. If so, my heart reaches out to you today. For those of us lucky enough to feel pretty safe in our families and homes, the discovery of the world's danger often comes from outside. I remember exactly when it happened to me. April 1968. I remember the way I felt. Terribly alone, uncertain, aware that what I believed about the world had shifted in some powerful way. Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination changed forever my belief in a world of security and peace. I was 8 years old, and for the first time knew what brokenness felt like. I can imagine children years from now experiencing something similar, for this strange time we're living in feels powerfully broken. This great pandemic has upended so much in our lives, from where we can go to who we can see to what we can do. Everything, at least to me, and I expect for many of you, feels broken. And I keep finding myself flashing back on other broken times in my life. While things seem particularly broken right now, if you've lived for any length of time, you know that things are often broken. There have always been times, now and in the past, when we are forced to understand that not everything that goes wrong can be fixed, that sometimes things fall apart and can't be put back together. At some point in our lives, we learn that brokenness is always going to be there. Some, when confronted by this challenging reality, decide not to believe it. These folks develop a web of pretty lies in which to believe. Others determine that if anything breaks, then everything does. These folks go around breaking the things and the people in their lives just to prove it to be true. But most of us try to figure out how to live amidst the brokenness. Our world is broken. That is absolutely true. Spend an hour reading any legitimate news source, and if you can wade through all the pandemic material, you will also hear about murder and mayhem, hatred and terror, abused children and war crimes, petty wrongdoing, and just general unpleasantness on the part of too many of us. We do not live in the world predicted by our hymn that soon a day will arrive when all will be well. We live in the challenging here and now, when so much is broken, so much is in pieces all around us. As Unitarian Universalists, our first response to brokenness is often to try to fix it. We are people who believe in solutions. We think that if we work hard enough, think creatively enough, band together with enough well-meaning people, we can heal this broken world. And that's not a bad thing. I'm powerfully moved by the ways people within our congregations have done extraordinary things to work to fix that which is broken. Yes, I appreciate all this. But I am also keenly aware, particularly as I age, that not all that is broken can be fixed. That all the good we can do can be swept away by one inept leader, by one bad decision on the part of voters, even by what some call acts of God. Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, floods, and, of course, viruses. I know from hard personal experience that humans are fragile, love doesn't always triumph, and life is hard. Of course, the world, at least a world filled with people, has probably always been broken. And we humans have, it seems, always sought ways to understand that brokenness. And one way we try to do so is to tell stories of perfect mythical worlds where all is good and pure and hopeful. One such biblical myth is Adam and Eve in paradise. Here is this beautiful couple, naked and carefree, living as God intended them to live, happy and safe and whole, until the snake arrives. First Nations tales often show a perfect world before some animal trickster, such as coyote or raven, comes along to mess things up. Because, of course, that's what always happens. Paradise is never reality. It is a myth, something to imagine, to dream about, maybe even to aspire to. And yes, we humans do so long for it. One of the great 20th century myths was written by an American who, after a somewhat idyllic childhood in his wealthy parents' home back east, spent a few difficult years in South Dakota, discovering how hard life really could be. His version of South Dakota became Kansas, and his memories of his childhood paradise played into the creation of Oz. When L. Frank Baum's masterpiece, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, was translated onto the screen, one of the greatest songs ever written about the longing for paradise came into our lives. Sung and known by generations of people, it captures the wonder and poignancy of paradise and the reality of our broken world in a profoundly beautiful but simple song. Listen to this gorgeous rendition of it now.